fighting for a 2-point GPA. But remember all the clubs and organizations we were involved in? To say it mildly, they probably are a lot of nonsense. Here's where some of them. Ham Radio Club. There they are. Coin Club. Explorers Club. How about Girls Woodshop? Bridge Club and Astronomy Club. I mean, these were times where we went and thought, oh, this couldn't be any better than this. Math Club, Robbie Mall, are you here? Is he awake? He was in the Math Club. Senior Discussion Club, Abe Waksberg. The Explorers Club, the Leanne Cooley twins, and the legendary Tom Rod. Then the committees. Foreign Exchange Committee, that must have been wild, huh? Red Cross, Hospitality, I was a member of the Hospitality Committee. Safety Committee. Publicity Committee, remember Eric Marchmine? The Dragon Committee, and who can ever forget the United Nations Committee? Well, long before Facebook, Twitter, or any other types of social media, we all stayed connected in the old-fashioned way, didn't we? We called people, we sent them letters, we visited with them. And there were 4 gals who took this to a new level. Apparently, from what I understand, they thought it was a Pennsylvania state law that after college you had to move to South Florida. So Susie Schulman, Catherine Morgan, Rini Sokolow Stillman, and Bonnie Smith Clement were among them. There she is, lovely. Hey, Bonnie. She was the only one in the group, though, that had a little different twist on this. She didn't just have a home in South Florida, but she also had one in Williamsville, New York, which, if you don't know, is a suburb of Buffalo. It makes a lot of sense, doesn't it? Before you say yes, here's her story. In the summertime, the lovely Bonnie is in South Florida. Bonnie, I checked, it was 98 degrees there 20 minutes ago. The humidity was unquestionably low at 83%. And she winters in the Buffalo suburbs where the average temperature this winter was 14 degrees and they had over 48 inches of snow. That's that group. Here's another example of connections, and this has more twists and turns than you can ever imagine. It involves 3 former members of A Orchestra's trumpet section. Despite regarded as the best in the group, Mark Shkrelo was not given that honor his senior year called the Golden Mouthpiece. Instead, it was Chuck Cohen, with the 3rd member, Mark Silverman, no applause, Mark Silverman openly campaigning for Chuck. As you can imagine, Shkrelo was devastated. After college at Carnegie Mellon University, he hot-footed it to Israel and then to Sweden, where he still lives today. Cohen and Silverman suspiciously settled together in the Maryland suburbs of Washington, D.C. For Mark Shkrelo, it was a deep hurt that just wouldn't heal. And they're laughing at this. This is tough. But there was some good news. They decided to bury the hatchet and get back together and resurrect the relationship. Chuck, who was an attorney, was in charge. And the deal was that this time of the year, every year, they would come together, rehearse, and then play a snappy trumpet tune called Bugler's Holiday. Well, that worked out pretty well, except it was held at Chuck's house. Silverman could walk there. Shkrelo had a bit of a distance to travel. He had to get on an airplane. And so it went. 13 years of this. If you can't see this, it says Chuck Cohen, distance traveled, next room. In 12 years, it was 148 feet or thereabout. Silverman, mostly on foot, but occasionally on bike, 21.6 miles. And Trello, 177,000 miles and countless dollars. But, you know, these are reasonable people. And I have some news for Mark tonight. I talked to Chuck, and I talked to Mark Silverman, and starting next year, there's going to be a change. This is going to be hosted by Mark Silverman. Chuck Cohen, distance travel, 1.7 miles, but it is in Washington traffic, so it's got to take him a while. Mark Silverman, 4 giant steps to get to that, and Mark Shrillo, 8,228.8 miles. So let's look for that. Mark, you can thank me later for negotiating this. I was really proud of that. You're welcome. I think it's only fair to have a little fun with me while we're doing this with others, right? On a personal note, Joan Blumenstein Kessler and I were an item for a time in grade school. Oh yeah, I don't care. I even have a photo of us, her sitting on my lap.
Skip's right here.
At a party at her aunt's house on Kinsman Road, as Sharon Colanti reminded me. I'm on the left-hand side there. I'm wearing that same sport coat tonight. As you can well imagine, this was the 6th grade. It didn't last forever. And so we broke up, and it ended. That was despite the flowers, the boxes of candy, the birthday balloon, the phone calls a few times each week, occasional notes from me, and Joan, I don't know if I ever told you, but I had I Heart JB tattooed on my arm. But I eventually moved on. As Franny Braworski Kaplan remembers, I hope. Franny's house and mine backed up to each other, but it was certainly more than geographical proximity that brought us together. That's Bill Littman on the left. He's wearing that jacket tonight. It's great. It's amazing how coincidental these things. Once this happened, as you can well imagine, I mean, these are women we're dealing with, young women. Joan got very aggressive. I can hear her laughing, but I can hear the hurt. Here's what happened. She aggressively pursued me. First, she crashed my bar mitzvah reception. Why awe? I don't get where awe came from. That's Beth Edelman on the right and Nan Feingold in the middle. I probably should have invited you, Joan, but you came anyhow, so it's really a moot point for now. Then she sent me an expensive gift. It was a Spidell bracelet. I don't know if you remember those or not, but she had my initials monogrammed on it. Totally unnecessary. Then she sent me birthday cards on a regular basis. And if you can't read that, under where it says extraordinary, that's her signature. It's pretty sick that I save these things, I know. That's a discussion for another time. I'm very lonely, I must tell you. Well, we had previous reunions, as you may remember, and you may remember people that you were with. Joan snuggled up to me. I'm sorry, Skip, but at one of these reunions. There she is.
Cool.
So you tell me, am I making this up?
No. Pictures don't lie.
Skip,
Skip's
I
right
wanted
there.
to share
Right
this
here.
with you. I'm talking to her husband in a very discreet way.
Email.
He went to the men's room. You're kidding me.
No, he's right here.
Is he nauseous or is it something else?
He's right here.
I got it all on tape.
You got it.
He's got it all.
Yeah.
I wanted to share this
That's right.
with you discreetly, which is really not part of my personality. This was an email I sent to Joan almost a year ago. This is true. This is the only thing that's true of this whole thing. And I said, have you told Skip about us. I'm going to see him at the reunion. And Joan, who's just wonderful, said, yeah, I already have. So that's my dear Joan. Now, I know I'm here by myself, but there is a woman in my life. I've been married for many years to the current Mrs. Hoffman. There she is. She doesn't like to travel, as some of you know who are close to me. And she told me she'd have to pass on this trip since she had some serious gardening chores to do before July 4th hit. Janie Hoffman. That's probably the best picture of her, but she is lovely. Oh, that's nice. That's very nice. There have been other occasions, not so nice, when old relationships were rekindled, like my Coast Guard Reserve experience when I bumped into Jim Fleischman. He was an officer at Cape May, New Jersey. That's me. How great it was to see a friendly face under those conditions. And I said to him, "Hi, Jim. Great to see you." He interrupted. He said, "That's Lieutenant J.G. Fleischman, Kaufman." And I think he purposely mispronounced my name. Well, this really didn't sit well with him, I could see. After that, there were numerous incidents of harassment. Soon following, it was 8 weeks of hell and basic training. Jim swore, that's me on the right, he had nothing to do with this, but I know better. Folks, Pew Research, if you know about them, has been engaged to gather information from you. So from time to time, whether you were talking on a cell phone or maybe in the lobby of the hotel, they were listening, and they have passed some of this information on to me. It goes as follows. This weekend, the most often uttered phrase or some variation is, "I can't believe it's been 50 years since we graduated." Right? Right. Mark Ehrman, Princeton University, was engaged, and Mark got involved with some impressive computers, Colleen, and there it is. We graduated in 1963. It's 2013. It's 50 years. So stop saying that. Right, Rob? The second most uttered phrase, we've all done this, "You look the same as you did when you were in high school." This can be categorized in one of several ways. A wonderful and probably generous compliment, bad eyesight, a poor memory, a form of dementia, or an outright lie. But that's not for me to say. I'm going to show you some then and nows. You can decide how true this may be. Francine Braworski Kaplan, 1963, 2012. It's the same person. The same one. She looks the same, thank you. There you are. Stanford Sonny Staller, 63, 2013. He has a book coming out soon, I understand. It's well, anyway. Remember Barbara Kimball? Barbara hasn't been to many of these, but she looks, I think, remarkably young today. It's, you know, I guess it's that Northern California atmosphere. I don't know what it is. We have others. Remember Tom Rod? We talked about him. The years have not been quite so kind to our friend Tom Rod in West Virginia.
That's not Tom Rudd.
Marshall Applebaum. Then, now. You can decide amongst yourselves and let us know. The most uttered word in the third group or variation is weight or diet. If you want to show hands on how many are involved with Spanx tonight, apparently not. We're not going to talk about this at all. We'll talk about the next one, which is a variation of hair. Hair line, hair loss, hair color. I must say the lights are dim here, I know, but this is one fine looking group. However, it's stunning that so many of my male classmates are either gray or balding, while you gals don't really have one person with gray hair, save the lovely Jamie DeRoy, who's had that look since, I think, 1971. So many have asked about non-attendees, and we have some information on one. Again, the noted Harvey Feinberg. The question that somebody asked was, how smart was Harvey Feinberg, and what is he doing now? Some of you may be surprised. This is true information. I mean, this is really, if you could write it down, you probably should. Harvey, as you remember, was one of our 4 valedictorians, but according to the Wechsler intelligence data and other test scores, did not have a drop-dead IQ. It was 98. That's with a margin of error or plus or minus 2. As you can see, or maybe you can't see, he was given 2 extra points for wearing glasses, which was partly negated by SOF living south of Forbes. Harvey Feinberg. The Wechsler folks, somewhat surprisingly, recommended summer school to help his grade point average. And I have confirmation here. It reads as follows. One teacher said, Harvey works hard, is smart enough, and the results show. But I'm pretty sure someone in his business law class is helping him big time. And there may be other subjects involved where he is getting help. To his credit, he took their advice to bolster what were best described as decent grades. And after his sophomore year, he hatched and executed a plan to bring his GP up by attending summer school. Harvey took 6 hours with 2 classes between his sophomore and junior years with straight A's at Conley Vocational Trade School. Somehow, and I'm still not sure, somehow this helped propel him into Harvard. As an undergrad medical school, he rose through the ranks to become provost. His resume, and this is where I'm concerned now, says he's president of something called the Institute of Medicine in Washington. But we dug a little bit deeper. We found out through our sources he's the owner of a small deli called Harvey's House of Corned Beef in a Bethesda, Maryland strip center. So you may go home feeling a little bit differently about him. Another wonderful guy, Mike Marcus. Good guy, likable, very funny. After graduating from Penn State, Mike was well-directed. He headed to Hollywood and the entertainment world. That was his dream. Always heard he was doing great things, working his way up the ladder of the movie industry. He was hobnobbing with some of the biggest of stars. But again, last night, his buddy and fellow Californian Jack Oringer shared something with me. Seems Mike, after 30 years, has gotten a recent promotion in the movie business. Mike is now the assistant manager of the Regal Triplex in Toluca Lake, California, and he starts on Monday. I think a nice hand for Mike. One of the real stars in class president is Larry Lucchino, or as they say at Alvarez, Larry Lucchino. On a personal note, he and I have been friends for almost 55 years. We first met, as you can imagine, on a basketball court in the 9th grade and have stayed very close since then. Here's something you may not know. Larry may not remember. I advised him early on, study and do well. And he listened. He really listened. At that time, he aspired for a full-time position at the J&L Steel Mill, where he had worked one summer. I pushed and prodded and continued to tell him to study and do well. Eventually, he opened up to the possibility of college. We put together a plan targeted Robert Morris University as a fallback, Slippery Rock. But this was Larry. Somewhere the plan went awry. He's clearly went off plan and ended up at Princeton. And then he went to Yale Law School. Larry was always listed in his single days among the most eligible bachelors in DC and later in San Diego. He now lives in New England and has married a very lovely lady who unfortunately couldn't be here tonight, Stacy. Now ensconced in Boston, as you can see, he's expanding from the first of his 5 locations and is soon to be franchising, and anybody who has some money to spend, it's going to be called Larry's Lube and More. So we just think that this is terrific for him, and we wish him the best. One of the great aspects of planning for this reunion is that we had total access to the Alderdice database. Information on the makeup of the school, the occupations of the people here. And one of the things we found out, 54% of this group either were or are lawyers. It seems a little high, or maybe not that high. 26% are doctors, and generously we included chiropractors and podiatrists. 12% teacher, and 8% other. From a religious standpoint, this is true. If you have a problem with any of this, this is based on information, so please don't take it out on me. In our class, 96.2% Jewish. If that sounds high, please understand there were so many Jews in our class, we ran out of names. We had 2 David Kleins, we had 2 Eddie Smiths, we had a Dickie Levinson and a Dickie Levison. There were 17 Cohens alone. And incidentally, if you remember John Jack Williams, who logged 26 bar and bat mitzvah appearances and 3 brisses, we threw him in among the Jews too. 72% claimed they lived north of Forbes. That sounds a little high to me. If you're with a spouse here and that doesn't equate to anything, we'll take a second or two to explain it. 2% fell under the other category. There were 8 African Americans, only one of whom played sports. The remaining group was hard to quantify since several were reputedly from areas not shown on any map of Greater Pittsburgh. Lincoln Place, I'm sorry Jen, Lincoln Place, Swiss Elm Park. There were 12 from Greenfield, 4 from Hazelwood, 3 from Wilkinsburg, and you may remember a foreign exchange student, Nadia Stein from Belgium. Notably, there were 3 Jews on the varsity football team, including Ned Fine. Ned, thank you. However, we had our time. The 4 team managers of the football team were all Jewish, as were the 2 for the varsity basketball team. There were no Gentiles on the tennis, golf, chess, or debate teams. Folks, that is our high school, which has since produced the likes of noted journalist Howard Feynman, recent Tony Award winner Billy Porter, footballer Curtis Martin, former Pittsburgh Mayor Bob O'Connor, rappers Wiz Khalifa and Mac Miller, and many more, including some of those I've had fun with tonight. Truth is, the years have flown by, so much accomplished by so many, whether it was raising a family, starting a business, or changing the world in ways large and small. We should all be proud of each other and revel in the wonderful shared experiences we are celebrating this weekend. Of all these things that have happened, and I think you will agree they were wonderful and miraculous and heartwarming, perhaps the most incredible thing that I saw was this afternoon in walking down Forbes Street. I looked in at the bagel factory. There were two Jewish women sitting quietly together, minding their own business. These are the folks that all made it happen. Robbie was very generous in sharing all the wonderful things they did together. Sharon is special in so many ways. For those of you who don't know, she's going to be opening up a restaurant in her home. And on alternating Mondays for $9.99, it's the best Italian food you've ever had.
That's for sure.
This has been great. And Colleen, I'm just going to skip down to the bottom from here. There were a lot of people that played an important hand in helping me put this together. And not the least of whom was my young son Sam, who said, "Dad, you're a moron. How can you not know how to deal with graphics and Facebook and everything?" I do want to thank all of you. You have just been terrific at so many levels. They're actually reading what's up there. Colleen, a special thank you to you. You are so special in all that you've done. Someone else was supposed to help out here tonight with the bartending and other duties, and this young lady just pitches in and gets it done. Thanks for your attention. Enjoy the evening. Thanks again, staff.